Hey guys, it's Beck, or Beck the Noir on Instagram. So I've been really putting off doing an intro. So right now I am recording at 3 a.m. in my kitchen because I really want to get this video out for you guys. Um, I have for you guys a Midoriya wig that I actually styled a little bit ago, that I finally got to editing the videos and stuff of. So this is going to show you a little bit more on spiking and stuff. I am going to be doing my wigs a little bit different here for YouTube than before. I have my Deku wig that I styled in this video up for sale currently. So if anyone's interested in buying it, please DM me on Instagram or whatever. Figure out a way to get a hold of me. That'd be great. But if you guys want to ask or request for certain characters down in the comments for me to style, I will style them, then I'll put their wigs up for sale after. It's a little bit different than commissions than what I've been doing, but I thought it might be a little bit easier on me, number one, and number two, it might make it a little bit easier for me to sell some wigs too. So in that way I don't have so many deadlines and stuff that I can't really hit on a great time frame kind of to do. So if you want me to see, or if you want me to style any specific characters, just comment down below, let me know. And yeah, I hope you enjoy this video. Thanks guys.
Alright, jumping right into it with you guys. I totally forgot to start filming until after I had already started teasing the bangs and the top of the head, so that is already done. I personally like to start my wigs from the bangs over to the top of the wigs and then to the bottom. But that is personal preference. You kind of figure out your own way that you would like to style as you kind of style more wigs. Um, where you start and where you finish is really more so up to you on that sort of thing. But this is a Deku wig, and because Deku is kind of a spiky-haired character, I took smaller teasing sections. I teased them pretty tightly, like as tight as I possibly could, with what little bit of hair what short amount of hair that he had. Um, I spritzed him with hairspray for a couple of seconds, and then I heated him up. I let him get pretty hot too because those spikes, I want those fibers to stay where I put them without a whole lot of hairspray. So the more that you tease and the more that you heat up, I tend to see the more that they are willing to stay where you want them to stay. Um, and then with the hairspray, you're not actually wanting to douse. You're the sections in hairspray, if that makes sense. You just want to do spritz for a couple seconds. You want it to get a little bit tacky, and then you want to heat up from there. Um, so you're not actually making it really wet. I really only spray for like maybe a second on each side. I'm not getting them that wet at all. Um, this Deku wig is actually 2 years old. I found it in my closet. I got them at a con and I really wanted to cosplay Halloween Deku at the time. I never actually really styled him. The only styling I did do with him is I put him on a wig head. I I made him turn upside down so that way the wig was like at the bottom of the wig head. And then I shook it so that way the hair got really fluffy and then I hairsprayed it. And that is how I styled my Deku wig previously. Not really much styling there, to be completely honest. It didn't really look the greatest, but it was fun for a Halloween party that I went to. Um, but yeah, we're just teasing, and it is important. Well, not really super important, but it is important to me that with this step I use non-glue based hairspray, because glue-based hairspray can kind of give you um, a texture on the fibers that I personally am not the biggest fan of. But see right there, I kind of grabbed too big of a piece. I wasn't too happy with how that piece had teased. So then I just grabbed it, split it up, teased the sections out again, and then re-hairsprayed and heated them up again. Normally around the back of the neck, though I don't get too picky just because it's the back of the neck. Yes, it is important, but not all that important to me. And then here I am just grabbing my little hairbrush, and we are brushing out the bangs first because that is where I had started. I like to go back to the place where I had first started to start brushing things out, so that way the hairspray had time to set, the fibers had time to cool down and dry, so that way I'm not brushing out a still damp with hairspray piece of wig hair. Um, I used to use a comb for this part, but I got really impatient and I don't really see much of a difference between combing a wig out and brushing them with a hairbrush personally. Um, I normally buy pretty cheap wigs off of Amazon, so I get some sort of shedding either way. It doesn't really make that big of a difference for me. So that is why I just make it a little bit easier on myself. I take a hairbrush, I brush out that hair. Uh, Also, it would take me at least 3 times longer if I used a comb, and I would get frustrated and I would never finish any wigs that way. Um, with his wig, I accidentally didn't brush out all of my teasing spots either. Just because I kind of was just doing this for fun. This wasn't a commission. I have no plans on cosplaying Deku anymore. So I just kind of went through them pretty quickly and just brushed out the top layer for the most part. But I pulled up a reference picture at this point off screen. And I'm just getting started with the bangs because, like I said, I absolutely love the bangs. So he has that big spike in the front with like those pieces that hang down over his face, kind of over his face, I guess. And I just kind of start brushing, sectioning, figuring things out. As you can see, I'm having a little bit of difficulty brushing things out because, like I said, I didn't do the best job brushing out this guy at first. You can't really do much of a styling without most of that being brushed out. And then I kind of have it start taking the shape that I want it to. So I take my glue-based hairspray at this point, which I use Got to Be, and I just start putting the hair or the fibers in the direction that I want them to go in. So I take my fingers, I rough up the hair, make them go whatever direction I want them to go in, pick up the sides so that way, or that right side, I pick it up so in that way I can make the spikes kind of point out towards the side instead of like up or down or whatever which direction. And then afterwards, I go back in and refine a little bit more. So I wanted a little bit more of that side part with him. I wanted that top spike behind this one to stick up a little bit higher, which you totally can't see me style because I cut that out of frame because I'm so good with camera work. And yeah, I just start refining those spikes however I want them to. Um, I like to start my spikes out a little bit more abstract, and then as I work with them, they get a little bit more defined, and that's where you get a little bit more of that super styled spike feeling. Um, I have had with spikes, personally, I have had a hard time throughout the years trying to figure out what would be the easiest way to style them from top to bottom, side to whatever. And I just tend to go from top to bottom. It does make it a little bit more difficult around the bottom, but because you have to reach underneath the spikes you already did. But yeah, that's kind of how I just prefer to do it. Um, and then I take those spikes, I spike them all up, and then as I style them, I look to see where the wig cap is showing as well. So at the back, before you saw that, the wefts of the wig were showing, not the wig cap. I'm sorry. The wefts of the wigs were kind of showing, so I kind of start styling spikes around there to hide those. Um, when you style spikes in a certain direction with wigs, you tend to see those, and they're pretty easy to cover up as long as you're just kind of um, your placement is kind of strategic in how you place them. Um, so then I get tired of working on the side spikes and I work to the to the front bangs again. I like to jump around a bit. I have a hard time focusing on one section and then like staying on that one section. So I kind of jump around as I what keeps my interest going. Um, so I'm just kind of doing those front little areas that I thought were super cute to have hanging over your forehead kind of area. And then I get bored with that and I head somewhere else because I am a mess. Um, and really, most of this wig is just finding a certain where I would like certain spikes to sit, where the wig kind of puts itself together, and then styling spikes from there. Like I was like, oh, that looked like a nice section, and then just light little hairsprays, and then and then putting them together with your fingers is the best way I could think of wording it. And then you just slowly refine as you go. If you want, you could totally focus on one spike at a time and perfect each spike and then, go through and do that sort of way, but I tend to change up my spike placement so much as I'm styling that I tend to not like making one part of the wig look really really nice and then move on to another because then I'm like, "Ooh, I don't really like it that much," and then I change it. With that one spike at the bottom before, the fibers wouldn't really stick together in a nice kind of spike, so I took the ends and I twisted them together. Um, that is one way to make it so that way the spike, if it doesn't want to kind of work with you as well, you can take those ends and twist them together, and then that kind of makes the spike stay as one separate piece. And then, as I said, the back I really don't care so much about around the neck area because it's kind of boring for me personally. You don't really see it. It does cover up your hair. I normally keep it longer with like some extra pieces and just so that way you can cover up that wig cap in your hair. And then I just go through and I'm really liking how the spikes are looking so far. So then I just clean up a little bit with my small pair of scissors. Um, just make those spikes a little bit more spiky at the end, get those flyaways, that sort of thing. Um, so in that way, they look nice and a little bit cleaner. At this point, if you wanted to and you're happy with how your spikes look, you could totally go through and take some sort of like fabric glue or tacky glue or something along those lines, and you can glue the tips of your spikes together to make them super, super spiky. I personally don't do that because I restyle my wigs a lot and just cleaning up the bangs. I like to leave longer sideburn sections too, so that way it doesn't, it covers up my hair as well. I have super long hair, so I need those places personally. But that's pretty much my Deku wig. Spiking is super easy, super fun.